The Last Hope, an Interstellar Adventure. Chapter 1. Departure. The countdown echoed in her ears as she waited in the cockpit, her knuckles white as she held onto the controls. In front of her, the vast expanse of space waited. She had dreamt of this moment from the day she was born. This was her chance to explore the galaxy and discover what lay beyond. But she had underestimated the weight of the moment. As she sat there, the reality of what she was about to do finally hit her. She was leaving everything she had ever known behind, her family, her friends, her whole life on Earth, and for what? The chance to discover something new? But even as she doubted herself, she knew there was no turning back now. Soon, she would be among the stars, and she couldn't wait. Launch in T-10 seconds, the computer announced, bringing her back to the present. She took a deep breath and cleared her mind. This was what she had trained for her entire life. This is what she was born to do. 9.8.7. Her heart was beating so hard now, she could feel it in her throat. 6.5.4. She closed her eyes and took another deep breath. 3.2. The engines roared to life and she felt herself being pushed back in her seat. 1. Launch. With a thundering roar, the ship lifted off the ground, and tears streamed down her face as the world below her disappeared. She was finally free. Chapter 2. Into the void. The ship lurched as it entered the void, hurtling through space at unimaginable speeds. The stars streaked by like a blur, and the only light came from the faint glow of the ship's instruments. For a moment, she felt weightless, as if she was drifting through space without any direction or purpose. But then she remembered why she was here, to explore the unknown, to chart a new course through the stars. She checked the scanners, looking for any signs of life or habitable planets. For hours, there was nothing but empty space, and the silence was eerie. But then something caught her eye, a faint blip on the screen. She adjusted the course and increased the speed, racing towards the signal. As they approached, the blip on the screen became clearer. It was definitely a ship, but it was unlike anything she had seen before. Its sleek silver design was unlike any human ship, and she couldn't help but wonder who could have built it. As they got closer, she could see the ship was damaged. One of its engines was badly scorched, as if it had been hit by some kind of weapon. She hailed the ship, but there was no response. She tried again, but still nothing. She wondered if the ship had been abandoned, or if its crew was too injured to communicate. With a deep breath, she docked her own ship to the damaged vessel, her heart pounding with adrenaline. As she stepped out onto the silent ship, she knew she was taking a huge risk. But she couldn't ignore the chance to explore this incredible new discovery. The lights were flickering on and off, and the air was stale and musty, as if the ship had been abandoned for months. She made her way cautiously through the deserted corridors, her weapon at the ready. But then she heard a sound, a faint whisper, as if someone was calling out for help. Without hesitation, she followed the sound, her heart pounding with fear and excitement. She found the source of the sound in the ship's cargo hold. A single figure lay curled up on the floor, covered in dust and debris from the ship's damaged interior. The figure was humanoid, but their skin was an unnatural shade of blue, and their eyes were closed, as if in hibernation. She hesitated for only a moment before she knelt down beside the figure, searching for a pulse. Surprisingly, she found one, beating faintly beneath the alien's skin. Her mind raced with questions. Who were these aliens, and how had they come to be so far from their home planet? She knew she had to bring this alien back with her to her own ship, to study, to learn, to discover. But as she picked up the alien, she couldn't help but wonder what other secrets lay beyond in the cold, dark void of space. Chapter 3. An alien encounter. She sat across from the alien, watching as it continued to sleep quietly in the makeshift medical pod she had created for it. She couldn't help but wonder what kind of life the alien had lived, what its world was like, and how it had come to be so far from home. As she pondered these questions, she heard a loud beep from the scanner. She quickly got up and checked the screen, and her heart raced as she saw what it was picking up. Another ship, one that was much larger than her own, was closing in on her position. She knew immediately that it must have belonged to the same beings that had created the damaged ship she had encountered earlier. Her mind raced with the possibilities. Were they coming to rescue their fallen ship, or were they here to eliminate any evidence of its existence? She knew she had to be prepared for anything. As her ship was boarded, she could feel her nerves getting the best of her. She had no idea what to expect, but she was determined to protect herself and her alien companion. The airlock hissed, and she raised her blaster, ready for whatever came next. But what emerged from the other side of the door left her stunned. A group of creatures, each one different from the next, but all bearing the same blue skin and translucent scales. They didn't say anything, but their expressions were stern and unyielding. It was clear they weren't friendly, but they also weren't attacking. One of the aliens spoke up, its voice a bizarre mix of clicks and whistles that she couldn't understand. She stepped forward, holding up her translator to try and communicate. But before she could say anything, the alien reached out and grabbed her arm, its grip unbreakable. In a flash, her mind was filled with images and sensations: the beauty of the alien's home planet, the warmth of its sun, the sound of its oceans, and the destruction wrought by the alien's enemies. When the alien released her arm, she stumbled back, dazed and disoriented. She had never experienced anything like this before. It was as if the alien had shown her an entire lifetime's worth of memories in just a few seconds. As she recovered, she noticed the alien was holding out a small device to her. She recognized it as a cloning device, one that could duplicate anything it touched. She hesitated for only a moment before taking the device, realizing that it could be the key to unlocking the secrets of the universe. But as she went to make a copy of the device, something strange happened. The device pulsed with light, and she felt a sudden jolt of pain. When she looked up, she saw that the aliens were gone, leaving her alone in the ship. But something was different. She was no longer alone. Her body was no longer just human. She had been augmented with the same blue skin and scales as the aliens. Shaken and confused, she tried to make sense of what had just happened. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized she was now a part of something much larger than herself. She was now part of the universe, and she had yet to uncover all of its secrets. Chapter 4. Betrayal. She stumbled out of the alien ship, still reeling from the strange sensation of being augmented. As she looked around, she realized that everything had changed. The universe looked different, and she could see so much more than she ever had before. But as she tried to adjust to her new reality, a voice brought her back to the present. "Jane, what the hell happened?" It was her co-pilot, staring at her in horror. She realized that she must have been gone for hours, and that they were now in a different part of space. She quickly filled him in on what had happened and showed him the cloning device, still trying to make sense of it all. But her co-pilot's expression hardened as he took in the strange device. He seemed almost angry that she had brought it onto the ship. "Jane, we can't have that device on board," he said sternly. "We don't know what it's capable of. It could be dangerous." Jane was taken aback. She had never seen her co-pilot so serious before. But she knew he was right. They needed to proceed with caution. As they continued their journey, Jane couldn't shake off the feeling that something was wrong. There was a tension between her and her co-pilot that she couldn't explain, and she felt more alone than ever before in the vast expanse of space. But then something strange happened. A message came through their communication system, urging them to dock at a nearby space station for a routine checkup. It seemed harmless enough, and so they agreed. But as soon as they landed, they were surrounded by heavily armed guards. Jane's heart raced as she realized that they had been set up. The message had been a trap. Her co-pilot was taken away, and she was left alone, surrounded by her captors. They questioned her relentlessly, demanding to know about the cloning device and the alien encounters. But she refused to crack, determined to protect the discoveries she had made. As the hours turned to days, Jane found herself alone and hopeless, trapped in an endless cycle of questioning and torture. But she couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was going on, that this wasn't just about the device or the aliens. One day, her captor revealed himself. He was her co-pilot. It turned out that he had been working with the organization that had set the trap, luring her into a false sense of security and betraying her. Jane was horrified. She had trusted this man with her life, and now he had betrayed her for his own gain. But even as Jane struggled to make sense of the shocking revelation, she knew that she couldn't give up. She had to find a way to escape and continue on her quest to discover the secrets of the universe. Chapter 5. The ultimate challenge. Jane's mind raced as she tried to make sense of her co-pilot's betrayal. She had always trusted him, and now she was alone in the universe, hunted by those who sought to keep her from uncovering the secrets she had longed to discover. But even though she was trapped and alone, she knew that she couldn't give up. She had come too far, seen too much, to let herself be destroyed now. She needed to find a way to escape and to continue her journey. As she spent the long, dark hours in her cell, her mind raced with possibilities. She thought about the cloning device, wondering if it might hold the key to her escape. With a deep breath, she closed her eyes and reached out with her mind. To her surprise, she found herself able to tap into the energy of the universe itself, calling upon it to aid her. She focused her energy on the cloning device, trying to make a connection. It took several attempts, but eventually, she felt the device respond, pulsing with energy. With a sudden jolt, Jane found herself free from her cell, standing in the middle of the space station with the cloning device in hand. She didn't waste a moment, racing through the station's corridors, dodging guards and security cameras as she went. As she ran, she could feel the energy of the universe pulsing through her veins, guiding her towards her ultimate goal. It was as if she had been given a new set of eyes, a new sense of purpose. But as she reached her ship, she realized that her victory was far from assured. The station was surrounded by a fleet of warships, each one bristling with energy weapons and defensive shields. Jane knew that there was only one way out. She had to fight her way free. With a deep breath, she activated her ship, roaring towards the fleet at full speed. The warships responded, pounding her ship with everything they had. But Jane was determined. She knew the universe was on her side, giving her the strength and focus she needed to overcome this final challenge. The battle was long and fierce, but Jane refused to give up. She swerved and zigzagged, evading enemy fire and retaliating with all the firepower at her disposal. As her ship began to sustain heavy damage, Jane knew that she was reaching her breaking point. But then something strange happened. Her body was suffused with a strange blue light, and the energy of the universe seemed to surge through her. For a moment, Jane was unstoppable, blasting through the remaining warships and emerging into the open void of space. But then, with a sudden burst of energy, everything changed. The universe seemed to compress and contract, and for a moment, Jane was consumed by a blinding light. When she emerged from the flash, she found herself hovering above a new world, one unlike anything she had ever seen before. The planet was teeming with life, and she could sense a powerful energy radiating from its core. Jane knew that she had reached her ultimate goal, and that the universe had led her here for a reason. But even as she looked down on the new world, she knew that this was only the beginning, that there were still worlds to discover, mysteries to uncover, and secrets to reveal. Chapter 6. The final countdown. Jane descended onto the new world, filled with a sense of awe and wonder. The planet was teeming with life, with strange and beautiful creatures wandering about in the lush forests that surrounded her. As she explored the world, Jane could feel the energy of the universe surging through her, guiding her to new discoveries and giving her the strength she needed to unravel the mysteries that lay hidden in the stars. But as she traveled deeper into the planet, she began to sense a darker force at work. There were strange energy readings emanating from deep within the planet, and she knew that she had to investigate. As she descended into the planet's core, the energy readings grew stronger, and she could feel a sense of danger creeping up around her. Finally, she arrived at the heart of the planet, a massive, crystalline structure that pulsed with power. It was clear that this was the source of the energy readings, but as she drew closer, she could feel something inside her that was growing weaker, fading away. It was then that she realized what was happening. The universe was in peril, and she was the only one who could save it. Without hesitation, Jane tapped into the full extent of her abilities, calling forth the power of the universe to protect her and to drive her towards her ultimate goal. She focused all her energy on the heart of the planet, drawing upon the full extent of her strength. The universe responded in kind, surging through her in waves of pure energy that threatened to consume her. But she didn't waver. She was resolute in her mission to save everything she had ever known. In a burst of light, Jane emerged from the planet's core, her body suffused with pure energy. She could feel the universe moving around her, folding over itself and opening up new pathways to the stars. For a moment, Jane was suspended in time, weightless and free. But then, the universe began to contract, pulling her back to reality. As she returned to consciousness, Jane realized that she had been gone for what felt like an eternity. But when she opened her eyes and looked around, she saw that everything was different. The universe was reborn, filled with new energy and potential. And as she gazed out across the cosmos, she knew that there was still so much left to discover, so many mysteries to unravel, and so many secrets to reveal. But she also knew that she was ready, that nothing could ever stand between her and her ultimate goal, an endless journey through the universe, guided by the energy of the cosmos. Chapter 7. The Last Hope. Jane had explored so many worlds, seen so many wonders, and unraveled so many mysteries. But she knew that her journey was far from over. There was still so much left to discover. As she traveled deeper into the universe, she could feel the weight of expectation growing around her. She was the last hope of humanity, the one who had seen the secrets of the universe and lived to tell the tale. But even as she soared through the stars, the weight of the universe seemed to be pressing down on her, pushing her towards her ultimate goal. And then, one day, she received a message, a distress call from a distant world, where the inhabitants had been threatened by an unknown force. Jane knew that this was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment when she could make a real difference and save lives. With a sense of determination, Jane set out towards the distant world, navigating through the passing stars and dodging obstacles as she went. As she arrived on the planet's surface, she could feel the energy of the universe pulsing around her, guiding her towards the source of the distress call. But as she ventured deeper into the world, she realized that the threat was greater than she had imagined. An ancient race of beings, long thought extinct, had been awakened from their slumber, and they were intent on taking control of the universe. With each passing moment, the threat grew more dangerous, and Jane knew that her window of opportunity was closing fast. But even as danger closed in around her, Jane drew upon the full extent of her abilities, calling forth the power of the universe to protect her and to drive her towards her ultimate goal. With a final surge of energy, Jane destroyed the ancient beings and saved the world from destruction. But as she looked around at the devastation, she knew that this wasn't the end. There would always be another threat, another danger waiting for her in the universe. But she also knew that she was ready, that nothing could ever stand between her and the boundless potential of the universe. And so, she set out once more, her ship soaring into the endless expanse of space. As she traveled deeper into the cosmos, she could feel the energy of the universe surging around her, filling her with an indescribable sense of wonder and joy. Because she knew that, no matter what dangers lay ahead, there was always hope, and there would always be a new horizon to explore.